Okay. We're on the eve of this big. What do you call it? The Lollapalooza extravaganza. I don't know. I'm kind of bored already. I was kind of getting excited. Thought we'd have all these revelations. Things would be just happening. It'd be like Watergate. I could get actually mesmerized. And then I heard, and I've confirmed it today. I confirmed it in person with a couple of people. They've got two witnesses. They got a Capitol Hill police officer, and they've got the producer of Restrepo, which I love. It's a war film, I think Afghanistan, from 10 years ago. He's got some footage of the Proud Boys, I guess, and that's supposedly the two witnesses. And what they said is they're going to try to make some connection between Donald Trump and the Proud Boys. I mean, okay, this is what the nation is going to be on tenterhooks about. We're going to get into some of that. We've got economics today. We've got Kelly Tshibaka. She's going to join us in a while from Alaska. She's in the middle of it. Of course, Diego Morales, who's running for Secretary of State, one of these great secretaries of state. Got Captain Bannon. Captain Bannon, there was let's call it what it is, an assassination attempt on the Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. They didn't get to the house, but they had, the guy had a gun, came from California, had a gun, had a knife, and then had I think pepper spray. It was picked up by authorities going to Kavanaugh's house, of which they told the suburb he lived in, where, I mean, the media is just trying to dox the guy. It's completely unsatisfactory. I know you put up a pretty hot item on Getter. Tell us what you got up on social media about this.
So I posted, Chuck Schumer actually back in 2020 had said to Justice Kavanaugh, outside of the Supreme Court, he said, "Kavanaugh, you have unleashed the whirlwind and you will pay the price." So this person that showed up to Justice Kavanaugh's house was only following what Senator Chuck Schumer had told him. So I would like to know when Chuck Schumer will be expelled from Congress for inciting this violence.
Wow. You're coming in kind of hot. That's throwing down pretty hard. He's only the majority leader. So I like the cut of that. Greenwald was up. I think it's on Mediaite. I saw it. He's throwing down on Joy Ann Reid. He says he wants to interrogate the guy. The guy should tell him every show that's inspired him to come back and try to use force. He actually told authorities, "I came back to kill Justice Kavanaugh." He says that's him. "I came back to kill Justice Kavanaugh." So Glenn Greenwald's saying he wants to know what shows and what does he read, what magazines, what newspapers, what does he read? Just because if somebody had a Trump sticker, you would have it ad infinitum. So, Captain, you're going to be here for the entire hour. We'll come back and talk to you about the Pacific tsunami, the tsunami that blew through San Francisco and LA yesterday and all of California. Really terrible turnout by the Democrats. Terrible, of course, the punk that was the DA of San Francisco got recalled with almost 2/3 of the votes. Complete blowout. Of course, he's whining it's right-wing billionaires, not the citizens of San Francisco. The guy running for the mayor, who was a Democrat, flipped to Republican, is leading. They're both going to be in a runoff with one of the progressive members of Congress. So big night for the Republicans out there. Shockingly, the Democrats just didn't show up. White House also put out a word today, some tweets from the economic correspondents that cover the White House, that the White House is signaling already to people that the inflation numbers this week are going to be bad. And that's what people are going to want to talk about on Friday morning is the inflation numbers, not the Proud Boys in some footage in Donald Trump. It's just not going to, people could care less. Okay, Captain Bannon, hang in there. I'll come back to you on California. I want to go, Todd Bensman, I think the smartest guy analytically, covers the border for CIS, former intelligence officer for Department of Public Safety in the state of Texas. We can't get Oscar Blue, but I got to tell you, the footage we've had there, Todd, as you've been a co-host so many times with us, has been pretty stunning. We started in Tapachula 2 weeks ago with 1,000 people, and then it got to 2,000. Then when it started rolling, like out of nowhere, all of it came together through the Darien Gap up through the frontline nations. And next thing you know, you got 15,000 people. I hear today it's 17,000. Walk us through what you know. And is this a prototype of what we should expect in the long, hot summer of 2022?
Here's how to think about this. At the southern border right now, the Biden administration has poked lots of exemption holes in the soup bowl, as I say. they're allowing through Title 42 exemptions from Title 42 of everybody except some of the Northern Triangle countries in Mexico. Everybody else who reaches the border is exempt from the pushbacks, from the instant expulsions. It's a relatively new thing. So the Biden administration is putting them on buses and airplanes. They're letting them go to resettle into the United States. Well, those people are sending selfies back. I watched them. They all have cell phones and they're saying, look, here I am, thumbs up, all of that sort of thing, back down trail. And that is inciting this caravan, which is made up 90%, according to Oscar, who's on site, 85, 90% of everybody in that caravan happen to be the nationalities that are exempted from Title 42. So it's my opinion that that caravan is formed solely because of these exemptions and them letting them through, like I showed you last week on the buses. So that's number one. And we should
ho. Don't go to number two yet. You're blowing my head up. Okay. This plays to your theory of the case of controlled flow. I want you to give me that again. You're saying that the exemptions themselves are totally matching down on this. People have to remember, this is the southern border of Mexico. How long is it? What is it? 700 miles? What's the length from basically Tapachula to the Rio Grande Valley to the Rio Grande right there? Todd, is roughly how many miles?
Yeah, I mean, it's about 1,500 miles depending on where you hit, but just figure it's a 3-day car ride or a couple days bus ride, few days bus ride. This is their last leg of a very long journey from all over. They're coming from Africa, the Middle East. The makeup of this is multinational. These are people from all over the world, primarily South America, but Oscar's talking about a lot of Somalis and Middle Easterners in the mix. That's because they're gonna get through Title 42 and they're gonna be on buses within 72 hours to any American city that they want to go to. That is the model right now. That's the prototype. Now, the controlled flow part that you're talking about, if I could just get a minute here, the Mexicans bottle them up. They tend to try to bottle up as many as they can in Tapachula with paperwork, and you got to get this or that document before we'll let you go. When it builds up to 40 or 50,000, then they do what's called an ant operation. We've talked about that. I've written about this, where they try to split them up so that it's not a big caravan-looking thing. And nobody has to suffer the political optics of a big, giant, shiny bauble media caravan. And that's what's happening right now. That caravan is now down to about 8,000 because the Mexicans are now plying them with about 1,000 visas a day to be in the country for 30 days. And then they're bringing up buses. And the buses are being made available to them so that they can go to 14, 15 different other states so that you will never see a caravan actually hit the border. But all of those people will hit the border and all of them will be allowed in eventually. The Central Americans probably will get held back a little bit, but everybody else gets through the 85%. And that's why I say that that there will be another buildup right away in Tapachula, and this will happen again and again and again. And they're counting, the Mexicans are counting on Biden administration absence. They don't care. They can push the Biden people around as much as they want and know that there will be no resistance. There'll be only cooperation with exemptions and loopholes. Anything the Mexicans want, they're going to get from the Biden administration.
I want to go back. So you're saying, first off, that the concentration of the 15,000 is all predicated upon them knowing they already got exemptions. So they're coming from around the world because they know they're already exempt from Title 42 and they can actually get there. Once they're en route, the Mexicans understanding everybody, Biden and the Mexico and the cartels all have an optics problem. If 15,000 people are coming through Mexico and the optics are terrible, you got the drones looking up and you got war rooms screaming every day. So in ant operations where they start to filter out different columns of it, take 1,000 here, 1,000 here, put them on buses and spread it out. Also, so they hit different parts of the border. Some go to Yuma. Some go to Nogales. Some go to El Paso. Some go to Del Rio. Some go to Eagle Pass.
That's happening right now.
But is my construct the right construct, the way to look at it?
Yes, it is. Listen, in 2018, the first Caravan hit. Trump was in office, and everybody remembers that ICE fired beanbags and tear gas and broke them all up at the border, and it was like women and children with the tear gas streaming. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to just have a massive teeming clump of people just being let in all at once in a big thing. So they have to spread it around like that. That is what's happening now.
But we don't want, but hang on. We don't want any people let in. So how do we get to that? I don't want, we had one of the congressmen on here. I said, well, why don't you send National Guard down to the Arizona border? And he says, yeah, we ought to do that because that allow Border Patrol to come back and process them faster. We don't want them processed. What do we have to do? Because Chris Kobach tells me he's got a case with Paxton that's in court that's going to win the Remain in Mexico in a week or two, and that none of these people will be let in prior to that. Is there any truth? I mean, is his read on that your read on that?
No, unfortunately, the way I look at it is like, let's take Remain in Mexico, MPP, Migrant Protection Protocols. So a court required that the administration keep that in place, but there's all this discretionary leeway in how they implement it. And the way they've implemented the court required, this is like the Supreme Court. This isn't just some, right-wing Texas Fifth Circuit or something. This is a serious court order. And what they've done is they've just poked it so full of exemptions. For example, anybody who they're going to push back under Remain in Mexico is asked this question: are you afraid to be returned to Mexico because there's crime there? And if the answer is yes, you're in. You're not. And so it's essentially it's neutered. It's neutered, and they can do that with Title 42 as well.
Tell us what our solution is here. What do we need to do to highlight this? But most importantly, what do we need to do to stop it? What can be done right now? This is going to be, and let me ask you, you're a professional. I asked Kobach this yesterday. Do you believe with the way that the Biden administration has comported themselves that there are grounds here, once we get the receipts, to impeach him for initiating and exacerbating an invasion of the southern border of the United States, sir?
Look, I mean, what Congress decides to do when it's in Republican hands, they're going to do. They can impeach anybody that they want to impeach. They can bring articles of impeachment. I'm personally not a huge fan of that. I didn't like the way the Democrats used that power on Donald Trump. And I remember thinking at the time that I hope that when the tables are turned that we don't stoop to that. But that's a political issue, and I suspect that there will be some attempt made. I don't particularly think it's a great idea.
But I'm not asking. Leave the politics aside. Leave that aside. Do you believe, what Kobach spent 10 minutes going through how lawless they are, how they've absolutely broken the law that was on the books. They've looked the other way. They've got they put these regulations in to actually have amnesty. I mean, his is from a legal perspective. He doesn't argue the politics. He may not think that, I don't know what he thinks about the politics. He may think the politics is wrong.
Well,
leave the politics aside. Just on the technical.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. I definitely believe that this administration is using the parole authority in the INA, the Immigration and Naturalization Act, that they're abusing it in a way that is not allowed legally. There's not the authority to do it. They are skipping entirely required. It doesn't say could or encourage. It says shall detain, shall put into deportation and removal proceedings. It's clear cut what the law says. The administration is clearly using lots of workarounds and using authorities that just don't exist. I ask immigrants all the time, can I see the paperwork that they gave you? And I'll take a look at it, and it's like a form that's just made up. There is no form like these that they're handing out. They're just creating these forms and printing them off and signing and stamping them, and you can't help but look at these and just say, these guys are just off in the weeds doing whatever they want that has nothing to do with following the letter of the INA. One more thing, if I can say this, even Barack Obama, when he was in office, was asked several times, why won't you do away with deportation? You're the president. You can stop deportation. And Obama said, it's the law. I have to follow the law. I'm not a king.
I remember that. I remember when he said it. Todd, this is going to only get exacerbated every day, and we're going to cover it. This is signal. The January 6th committee is noise. Walk me through how do people get to you, social media, where they find you? You're putting stuff up 24/7.
Okay, I'm at T Bensman at Getter. I'm also Bensman Todd on Twitter, and you can read my material and see my video reports at CIS.org, Center for Immigration Studies. Everything's there under my name. You'll find it. One last thing is, I have a book out called America's Covert Border War, and it's about the threat of jihadist infiltration, which is very elevated right now because of this border crisis.
No, it's incredibly elevated. What are you talking about? Your book was the first one to nail it. Todd, look forward to you having me on virtually every day because this thing is so big. And now he's told us the situation where they're going to break up the Caravan because the optics look too bad. They're going to have these ant operations that are just going to head to the border. The key thing is that all of these people fit into their waivers in Title 42. This is my point about impeachment. This is a controlled operation to get people into the country. We're going to get all the receipts. Preserve your documents because we're coming hard on impeachment because you're initiating and exacerbating an invasion of the southern border of the United States. So I want all the authorities to watch this, including DOJ, the FBI, because you guys are all part of this. You're part of an invasion of the United States, and you're not being straight with the American people. It's disgusting what's going on here. Todd, thank you very much for being on the show.
Good to be here. Thanks.
I want to bring in now, go to the great state of Alaska, Kelly Tshibaka. Kelly, answer me this. All my contacts, I made this film on Palin years ago. I got pretty good contacts up in Alaska. Everybody tells me you're everywhere. And Murkowski is not like, she thinks, I just got a question on process because the folks in Alaska are such great folks. I mean, we loved it up there. I mean, that is the deplorables. That's MAGA. You're everywhere, barnstorming the state nonstop, and Murkowski's in the witness protection program. Tell me how that works?
It's a great question, Steve. I was recently in one of her hometowns. The very end of Southeast Alaska is a town called Ketchikan, wonderful place. And I was down there. This is considered Lisa territory. Been down there a couple times, and I think we've flipped the community. One of the legendary people down there said, "Hey, it's really good to see you again. What's your opponent doing? She's just going to campaign from Washington, D.C.?" So you're absolutely right. One of the strategies here in Alaska is to be with the people as much as you can. We're the kind of people who like to kick around the tires, make sure that the candidate is authentic. We know them, we can trust them because we've been told so many lies. I'm not going to call it misinformation. We shoot straight up here. We've been told so many lies by these people who promise us one thing, then go back to Washington, D.C. and shank us in the side like my opponent has done for 21 years. I'm going to campaign on repealing Obamacare, and then I'm the deciding vote to keep it. I'm going to campaign on protecting our resources, and then I'm the deciding vote to put Deb Haaland through confirmation. Those kind of things that we want to make sure that we can trust somebody that we're going to put into office. So that's what I'm trying to do is meet as many Alaskans as I can. Remember, in this campaign, this election cycle, it's going to be decided by about 150,000 people. That's it. It's like a large mayor race. And so I literally can shake all of those hands and win all of those votes one at a time. She doesn't have any votes that she can gain. There's not a person in Alaska who's going to wake up and go, I've never voted for Murkowski before, but this year she's my girl. And this is the first year I've ever run for election. And so I've only got votes to gain. So that's my goal. Take as many votes from her as possible. And she's got an approval rating across Anchorage. That's the largest city in the state. Half the population lives here. That's as low as Joe Biden's. And so there are a lot of votes to pick up, Steve, and we're doing a fantastic job of doing that.
A guy that's very close to the president and very close to us, and just a pretty renowned guy in the energy sector, Harold Hamm, endorsed you. How did that come about?
Yep, that's right. I had a great conversation with him on video call, and we talked about what's going on in the energy industry, everything that's happened with Murkowski and what she has done. She's just been terrible for the oil and gas industry, terrible at being the chief enabling officer for President Biden in his energy annihilating agenda. And Harold Hamm gets it. He's followed it closely. He's a sharp intellectual, as you know. And Harold Hamm has come over and endorsed me, which is great. As anyone who knows oil and gas industry knows that Harold Hamm is probably the largest name in the oil and gas industry. And Murkowski was the head of the Energy Committee about a year and a half ago. She had the chairmanship for 6 years. So having Harold Hamm's endorsement is a big sign that oil and gas industry leaders are leaving Murkowski. She is not the big giant in the energy industry anymore. We've got large energy executives behind us and supporting us. But having him, the largest name in the oil and gas field with us, has been a huge windfall for us. And it gives cover for other oil and gas executives to follow suit. And so that's been very helpful. I'm so thankful, Harold Hamm, for your support and for all the oil and gas industry support, including the Oil and Gas Workers Association. So from the line people all the way up to the executives, we've got a lot of momentum behind us.
Tell me about it. How is Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter's involved in this entire situation up in Alaska. How does Jimmy Carter, who it was the last big failed presidency? Well, I guess you can say Obama and Bush were failed presidencies also, maybe Clinton too, with the impeachment. What about Jimmy Carter? How did Jimmy Carter get involved up in Alaska and Alaska politics, given all his failures in the lower 48?
We have this interesting phenomenon this year where these politicians with big wrong opinions have decided to get involved in this Senate race and these Alaska politics. There's this King Cove Road down in the Aleutian Islands. We have this fishing community. It's actually critical and vital to America. We provide most of the fish that America eats. And King Cove is separated by a handful of miles from an all-weather airport. So the Aleutians get terrible weather, and the King Cove residents cannot get to an all-weather airport for life-saving transportation. And so many times, their residents are cut off, and many people have died because they just can't get to this airport. There happens to be a road that passes through a wildlife refuge that goes over to this airport, but that road is not in good enough condition for an ambulance to use. And so all the King Cove residents have asked for is, can we please upgrade the road so we can get an ambulance through? And this has been a point of contention for years and years and years. Now, here's the thing. My opponent has promised I'll get you that road, but she has stacked the deck against the King Cove residents, doing things like supporting the confirmation of Sally Jewell, the last Interior Secretary, who said she needed to listen to the birds over the residents of King Cove. She championed the appointment of this judge, Sharon Gleason, who killed the road twice when President Trump gave it to us. And just recently, there was a land swap deal approved by Sharon Gleason killed it, but the Ninth Circuit overruled it and said the land swap could go through and we would get our road. Thank God we're now going to be able to save Alaskans. But that's where Jimmy Carter jumped in, and he decided that he was going to file a brief with the court asking that a larger panel and the Ninth Circuit would look at it and potentially overrule this other panel in the Ninth Circuit. And I just really think that President Carter should stick to peanuts, stick to something he knows down in the lower 48, than getting involved in our life-saving road up here in the Eisenbeck National Refuge in Alaska and what the people need in Alaska, because we know best what's happening in our wildlife refuge. We know best what's happening in King Cove. He didn't do very good as a president. He does know what to do with peanuts, but he doesn't know what to do with the King Cove Road. And he should stay out of Judge Gleason's failed decisions and what happened there and let the judges do what they need to do. Another politician who's getting involved up here, as you know, is Mitch McConnell. And he's decided to put $7.5 million into a PAC supporting Lisa Murkowski, disregarding the fact that our Alaska Republican Party has censured her and said she can't use the Republican name in her race. So he's completely ignoring the Republicans in our state who he's supposed to represent, Steve, and saying, nope, Alaska, you're going to pick Lisa no matter what. Interestingly, Alaskans aren't listening to him. And here in Alaska, we have raised twice as much money from actual Alaskans than Lisa has. Almost all of her money All of Murkowski's money is coming from the lower 48. And this is the same Mitch McConnell who came to us in Alaska and said that if our late Senator Ted Stevens didn't step down from the U.S. Senate after he was convicted of a crime, that he was going to kick him out of the U.S. Senate. Here's the thing, Steve. Ted Stevens was later acquitted of all those charges. So McConnell's had it wrong about this U.S. Senate race before, and he has it wrong this year about Murkowski, but Murkowski has tied herself to this failure of Mitch McConnell, and now we've got this failure of Jimmy Carter coming in and saying something about our Alaska politics again, and the fact is all these D.C. insiders need to stay out of Alaska. That's what we think, and that's what's going to happen in 2022.
Kelly, you're the Trump-supported candidate. Give your handles right now, social media and campaign. How do people get to you?
We're at kelly4ak.com, KELLYFORAK.com. President Trump's about to come up here for a big rally for us. We need your support, War Room, because we're not getting support from all those DC insider PACs that the opponent has. So please help, kelly4ak.com, and thank you.
Kelly Tshibaka, fight on. The great state of Alaska. You got Greg Manns now from the War Room as your new campaign manager. We just saw that announcement. Greg Manns, that guy's a tough hombre, as we say. Short commercial break. We're going to be back in the battleground just a moment.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back to the battleground. We got a packed second half of the show here, so let's get right to it. Big win last night out in New Mexico. Another one of these great, tough people, patriots that are running for secretaries of state. This is the great state of New Mexico. I'm obsessed with New Mexico to flip New Mexico because I'm telling you, that's a MAGA state. Let's bring in Audrey Trujillo, who won last night the Republican nomination. She's run for Secretary of State. Audrey, tell us first off a little bit about yourself and how'd you have this big win last night?
Well, we were able to keep everybody off the ballot on the Republican side, which was amazing. So I did not have a primary, but we did have a huge turnout of Republicans that went out to vote. Are you okay hearing me?
So tell us, yeah. So tell us about how are you going to win the Secretary of State now in a state that is mainly leaned Democratic?
Well, interesting enough, we have over 300,000 independents who are not able to participate in the primary, and we're going to focus on them. We can't focus on just the Democrats because the Democrats that are going to lean left are going to vote for Maggie Toulouse-Oliver, who is our current Secretary of State. So we're going to be looking at the conservative, Christian, conservative, Catholic, Democrats, and our independents who are just tired of what they've seen. They've lost so many businesses here in New Mexico. I think it's over 700 businesses that actually closed forever, and most of them were small businesses. So a lot of people are very angry at this current governor, which she's going to help my race, because the more they're upset with the Democrat Party and what they have done to New Mexico, I think we have a really big chance.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the 2020 election. Where do you stand on that? Where do you stand on machines? Where do you stand on mail-in ballots? All of us. Give us your positions as Secretary of State in voter integrity and 2020.
Well, I absolutely know that there is things that were nefariously done here in New Mexico, especially. They've been done for decades. It's not just been in 2020. And I've been very upfront on that, on where I stand with that. I think absentee ballots being used during the emergency order acts during COVID, those were definitely something that was used to really get the decisions that they got for this 2020 election, which was Biden, who we did not even see signs here in New Mexico. Somebody asked me, how do you know Trump won New Mexico? And I'm like, we didn't see Biden signs anywhere. We saw Trump signs. We saw huge convoys. We had so many people that were so excited to see Trump continue in his presidency. We saw people that were finally seeing things like even in my husband, for instance, his 401k started getting bigger, and it was nice to see that. Now we've seen it all deplete. So people were in a place, our gas was low. We were only paying like $1.37 here in New Mexico. And now we're seeing almost $6. You know, people are really hurting in New Mexico.
Wow.
And it's a huge difference from Biden to from when we had Trump.
Audrey, let me just say, gasoline was as low as $1.37 under President Trump.
Yes.
It's now over $6 in New Mexico.
Yep, it's getting there. We're like at 5 something. Diesel is huge. I mean, I think diesel already hit $6 an hour. I mean, a gallon. Sorry. But yeah, people are hurting here, and our wages have stayed the same. So wages stayed stagnant, and everything else has gone up. Our food prices, I think we're paying $200 to $300 more for groceries.
As the first couple of things you want to do as Secretary of State, walk me through. What are the changes you want to make?
Well, on day one, I want to make sure we clean up our voter rolls. They are a mess. They say that we have 3% of our voters that are dead on the rolls right now. And the process they have is really to keep those dead people in the pool of voters that they can manipulate with. And we need to do that. Some way, or we have to find a way that it doesn't have so much red tape. Right now in New Mexico, there is so much red tape to be able to do that. We got to be able to go in there and work with, you know, our different systems, like the DMV. You know, right now we have DMV and they're able to register people. Why aren't they able to just take off those people that move out of state that are no longer in New Mexico? You know, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of things that can be done, and why are they not being done?
How do people find out more about? How do people find out more about your personal story, and how they find out more about your campaign? Where do they go?
They can go to my website at Audrey, AUDREY, True Hero, TRUEHERO, 4, NM.com.
It's fantastic. Thank you. Your opening salvo in the war. I'm looking forward to having you back. New Mexico's a state. I'm telling you, we can flip New Mexico, particularly where the economy is, the hardworking folks out there, so many great people, and what a beautiful state. Land of enchantment. Audrey,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here in the war room.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Let's go to the Hoosier State. Let's go talk to Diego Morales. Diego's been on here before. Diego, tell us about your race. Tell us where we stand. Tell us what you're going to do.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Okay, he froze. We got to go ahead and drop him. He's got to get stabilized. Hey, Diego, we're not picking you up, so we're going to have to reboot you. The car's going to have to stop. Let's go. Who got Mo Bannon? Let's bring in Mo Bannon for a second. I got Dave Walsh also. What Diego's got to do is he can't be driving the car. He's got to get stopped and pull over to the side. By the way, Audrey is another one of these. This comes from Matt Meck and the folks out of Jim Marchant. I think they're up to 25 of these Secretary of State. These down ballot races are going to be so incredible. And talk about down ballot race yesterday. Maureen, you're raised in California. You're from Brooklyn, but raised in California. You know how liberal these cities are. As you talk to folks out there today, how stunned are they that this super progressive DA, because remember Gascon, who's so bad down in LA, started in San Francisco. He got replaced by this guy. What's the feeling of this almost 2/3, 1/3 blowout in the recall petition up there that fired this guy last night?
The people that I've spoken to out in California, they're happy that this occurred. They've had a belly full. And the fact that he believes that it is a Republican and police union-led playbook to undermine and attack progressive prosecutors is a joke. You're so out of touch with reality if you don't realize that the fact that crime is running rampant in your city is the reason why people got out yesterday and voted to recall you. I mean, larcenies in San Francisco are up 20%, murders up 11% from last year, rapes are up nearly 10% from last year. So you've got to be so out of touch with reality to not realize that your lack of prosecuting crime is the reason why voters got out yesterday to recall you.
Okay, Bill of Fox LA, this is Fox, the broadcast, Bill Malugan, tweeted this out. I put it up on my Getter account. I want to quote from this. A new poll in Long Beach may spell trouble for LA DA George Gascon. 45% support a recall, 27% oppose a recall. Two most common words voters describe Gascon were lenient and progressive. Long Beach is heavily Democratic and is the second largest city in LA County. That's at Fox News. I got to tell you, I said on my Getter post, the party's just starting. LA, Chicago, New York City, remove all the source-backed DAs. It's one of the big crusades we're going to have here at the War Room because law and order's got to be reinitiated. It's absolutely unsat, Maureen, that this is going on. What's your sense? You're from the South Bay beaches of Los Angeles. What's the sense of Gascon as the DA down there? I think he's considered actually maybe even worse, if that could possibly be, than Bedouin or Chaz, whatever, Cheza Bedouin in San Francisco.
Correct. I was actually about to touch on that. People that I have spoken to in LA, as soon as that was called last night, the recall, then they were saying, Gascon, you're next. They are fed up with his lack of prosecution on tough crime. For instance, there was a mother that was run over by a mother and child that were run over by a 16-year-old that had already had a long rap sheet, and they were sent, because of Gascon, sent 5 to 7 months to a juvenile detention center instead of a tougher punishment. There was also another, this was a few months ago, there was a off-duty police officer that was killed, and the sheriff actually found a loophole to call in the feds because he knew Gascon would not prosecute to the full extent of the law. So I believe that a recall will occur in Los Angeles.
Okay, you hang on for a second. You're my co-host here. Let's bring in Dave Walsh. Dave, you did such a spectacular job, and I want to make sure people understand as you look out over the other side of the hill, because heat in the summer, no air conditioning, is going to be inextricably linked with a crime wave. And you're seeing right now Florida, Texas, Nevada, California are going to have, because of this natural gas situation. Walk people through how you project out how this could be a long, hot, expensive summer for folks.
Well, we're going to see, yesterday was pointed out, we're talking about now $10 per decatherm gas prices, which in most folks' power bill right now, the last one they got would have been about $5.50 per decatherm, double. So that by September, we get to August, September, those bills will include about a $10 per decatherm surcharge for gas, because the utilities in really all states that's a pass-through. They don't have to wait for an annual meeting with their Public Service Commission to get gas rates passed along. That happens to you every month. So by the time you get into August, September, you'll be seeing double the rate on fuel in your power bill, which, without the shortage issue of power interruptions, which is becoming a real issue in MISO, that's the upper Midwest, Texas already, California traditionally, we've got outages. But now we're talking about the central U.S., so you've got that to worry about. But the gas prices, you'll see the full effect of 2 times those of you heavily dependent on gas power generation in your bill by August, September. So, we're going to see a lot of self-imposed rationing of use of air conditioning by necessity in those states. Absolutely.
Okay, I want to go back on something. I want to make people understand this. You're saying right now, if I look at my gas bill, the energy cost of the natural gas cost is about $5.50. That's up from what? Because during Trump's thing, I think, wasn't it down to like $2.50?
Yeah, the average during the Trump administration is in the $2.20 to $2.70 range. So it's double. It's now double. It's now double.
So under Biden, it's already double. And you're saying you're going to have another double by the time I get another bill. So my bill's going to be double.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody's bill that they have in hand now is from a month ago, so that's about $5.50. So, but where we are now is already we're at 9 already. We're at 9 already.
Explain to people this. Putin did not do this. I want you to explain to people how we went from $2.20 to $5.50 to then $10. Just walk people through that.
Well, Steve, I did post today. We seem to have joined OPEC a few months ago. I kid you not. And I say this because from the time of his inauguration, we have specifically taken a huge number of actions to curtail production of not only fracked natural gas, but all oil in this country. Well documented. So already by December of last year, gas and oil prices, the trip they've taken up to where they are today, 80% of that trip was taken by January 1 already because of our curtailment of production in this country by several million barrels per day. And then the Keystone Pipeline, the forward signal that sent to the price markets about that being shuttered permanently. We've self-imposed the same restrictions that one would have as a member of OPEC. And, their way forward, for example, is to reduce supply. They don't announce price increases. They consciously manage supply. So we've kind of joined in on that, supposedly through the environment and those issues. But and who are we negotiating with? Venezuela and Iran, 2 OPEC members, not Canada, for excess supply. So you get, this happened. 80% of this uptick happened already before the invasion.
Wow. I want to go to the next topic is blackouts. I mean, you have the option of, if it's too expensive, you're kind of forced to do it, but you have the option of cutting the air conditioner up to 78, cutting it off, whatever.
Yeah.
But I just sent you an article last night. They said, hey, get ready for what the Biden administration does not want to address right now, and that's blackouts. Walk me through it. Is that a specter that hangs over us? Where do you see them, and when do you see them?
Well, we've seen already service curtailment suggestions in Texas already 2 weeks ago, on a Thursday and Friday 2 weeks ago, with 2,900 megawatts of gas-fired plants down for maintenance, extended maintenance. ERCOT announced curtailments of use, don't air conditioning during the day, don't use your major appliances until the evening in the lower demand period already. Again, they had done this last year, of course, in the freeze period. California, we've got a monstrous exposure to the same thing because of their lack of internalized state generating capacity, and they're 34% dependent on renewables. So that's been an issue there. The latest forecasts are in the MISO region. Again, that's Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, North Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana, the center part of the country, largely owing to the shutdown of about 20,000 megawatts of coal over the last 5 years, displaced with 80% gas but 20% wind. You've got massive exposure now with the heightened renewables intermittency in that basic industrial region of the country for brownouts and blackouts, because the reserve margins of spinning electricity capacity are not what they were 5-6 years ago when the coal plants were in place, that were there continually to provide 24-hour a day energy. The issue is lack of baseload energy in these markets exposed to the brownouts. And again, Texas already, curtailments being announced 2 weeks ago already. But the issue of this visiting up in the MISO region, it's shocking. It's shocking, but it's not shocking when you look back at the closure of coal plants over the last 5 years there and recognize that that's baseload power, that 20% of it's been replaced with intermittent power from wind that you cannot rely on in a system. What do you say about MISO? That's in the upper Midwest. Are you saying that you believe that they're going to have big blackouts or brownouts out there this summer? Brownouts and service curtailments. I wouldn't alarm the audience up to blackouts yet, but the fact that we're talking about potential brownouts and service curtailments in MISO, which is the heartland of industrial America, former blue wall states, if you will. We're talking Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois. It's startling. It's startling because these states were blessed with continuous baseload coal-fired energy, a reasonable amount of gas, nuclear. The Palisades nuclear plant, 800 megawatts in Michigan, being shuttered this year. That's continuous duty baseload electricity. That is anybody out in front? I mean, we're trying to be ahead of this, but have you seen anybody else? Is the Biden administration being straightforward with people about what to expect? Have you seen the Secretary of Energy or Commerce or anybody in the White House come forward and say, hey, look, here's the problem we got? Go ahead, Dave. Well, yeah. For example, on gas yesterday, not to be cynical, but Secretary of Commerce Raimondo came out and indicated that, hey, we're done on gas prices. There's nothing more we can do. She actually said that. So I'm not looking for a lot of solace from them. But I do have two things for the posse. In discussing these matters locally with your utility executives who do call on you and come to communities to give speeches, and your state legislator, senator, governor candidates, two things to mention to them. Tell them, I want to make sure you're pursuing a policy of leaving me in my state continuous baseload electrical generation that will meet my needs 100%. Anything with resource constrained technology that the EIA refers to renewables as, I don't want to hear as much about that. B, if you decide to do any of that, prove to me that it will not add to my costs. Meaning, posse member, I've got enough inflation and my food has doubled, my gas has doubled, my power bill's going up by 50, 60%. I can't take any more. So if you're going to, in your 5-year resource plan, by the way, everybody can access that publicly. All utilities publish that. If you're adding solar and wind to my base and it's going to increase my cost of service, I don't want it. Tell your government officials that locally, because the public service commissions are managed at the state level. That's where you have a lot of power. You have a lot of power there.
Give me your social media, and I want you to put that up on your Getter account. Captain Bannon is going to get it up on the War Room and everywhere. I want those two items. This is action items. Action. I tell you, the posse's going to love this. Dave Walsh, how do people get to you and follow you?
Quick one, Steve. I did mention this to a Anthony Sabatini opponent a few days ago. Just doing some research for Anthony, who knew nothing about these topics, had no position on them. Unbelievable. Anyhow, I'm a Dave Walsh Energy on Getter.
Unreal.
Thanks.
Dave Walsh, thank you very much. Captain Ben is going to work with you to get these up. This is action. We're trying to make sure people are ahead of the food situation, the energy situation, all of this to try to make sure that they're ahead of things on this inflation. Captain Bannon, I know you'll give me stink eye unless I get your social media out there. So what is it, girl?
You can follow me on Getter and Twitter at Maureen_Bannon. And also I'm coming in hot on the gram at Real Maureen Bannon. And
Mo Bannon is tip of the spear now on this crusade to get these source-backed DAs. She's going to be all over that. And, honey, if you get to with Dave Walsh, I want to get those two things that people got to be asking. The War and Posse wants work. They want to be loaded up. Okay. I want to thank everybody. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be hot. Tomorrow's game day with the 6th January. We're going to have some pretty exciting guests. We're going to kind of give you the preview of the counter programming in the War Room. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.